You got to get people who are willing, and I'll say it one more time, put country over party, country over self to solve the damn problem.
I read the book and I wrote some notes down, and I want to test some things on you, and I want to get your reaction to these things. You were born before the baby boom. You were born during the war. The baby boom starts in 1946. It ends in my year, 1964. I feel like you were there before the baby boomers really took over. And then obviously President Clinton became president. You correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he was our first baby boomer president.
Yep.
And then we go into the baby boomers of Newt Gingrich, et cetera. And I feel they've really failed the country. And I'm just going to give you my theory. And by the way, this is my generation. I feel the baby boomer political establishment overpromised. They underdelivered. They undertaxed. They overpromised on governmental entitlements and spending programs. Dick, let's just go back. George Washington to George Walker Bush, $7 trillion. Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, $27 trillion. And I feel like we've become very, very reckless, and we've squandered this wonderful bounty that the greatest generation, and frankly, your generation, left to us. And so, am I wrong? And if I am wrong, correct me. And if I'm right, how do we fix it, sir?
Well, I think you're right. I never believe that you can, on a sustained basis, spend more than you take in. When you're in a recession, you have to spend more than you take in because you got to get out of the recession. But in normal economic times, you should balance your budget. That was the economics that I learned in college. That was the economics that I learned from people at the Congressional Budget Office and older members who were on the scene when I got to Congress. So, I was alarmed when Ronald Reagan, and I liked Ronald Reagan a lot, but I thought he had a bad fiscal policy because we didn't need to run big deficits, which he ran. He wanted to cut taxes, and that's fine, but he wouldn't pay for those tax cuts with spending cuts. So when George Bush, H.W. Bush, came in, I was in the leadership of the Democratic Party. Newt Gingrich was my counterpart. And the president kept calling us down to the White House saying, we need a budget summit. We got to do something about this deficit, which was a fraction of what it is today. And we said, we agree. And so I led the Democratic effort, and we put together 150 members, House and Senate, for 9 months. And we negotiated the biggest cut in the deficit that had ever been made. And when we got it done, Newt Gingrich was supposed to produce half the votes. I was going to produce half the other half, which was a good deal. That's the way you do it. And Newt said to me one day during the budget summit, I'm not going to vote for this. I said, well, the president told me you would. He said, no, I'm not going to vote for it. So I went back to Dick Darman and I said, he's not with us. He said, no, the president talked to him and he promised he would vote for it. Well, as we're announcing the deal in the Rose Garden, he's back up on the Hill doing a press conference, said no Republican should vote for this. So we lost on the first vote. I had to go back to President Bush and Dick Darman and say, cut the fence a little bit, and maybe I can get some liberals on. And we did, and we passed it by one vote in both houses.
Yeah.
So that's how hard this is, and that's how important it is.
Yeah.
You've got to have a balanced budget in normal times. And somehow people, no matter when they were born or when they grew up, they miss this memo.
Yeah.
And it's an important problem. And sooner or later, we're going to pay the price. That's my worry. And how do you get back to it? You've got to get people who are willing, and I'll say it one more time, put country over party, country over self to solve the damn problem.